Yeah, can you lay out some audience polls for this audience and for Amy? Let's discuss what the people think.
Yeah, let's find out what the people say. So this is a timely one that I wanted to share, and also wanted to really get your thoughts on this. So it's very simple poll. Do you care about the Oscars?
Hmm.
That's the question. Real simple. And there's two options. Option one, of course. Option two, not so much. Okay, real simple. 60% said not so much.
Hmm.
40%
Wow.
said of course.
60
Now,
40.
what do you think, Amy, about that response?
Well, I think, it's getting to be more of course a little bit because, for the longest time, it really felt like, uh, it was fixed. If you had a lot of
Mm,
money and if you were white, there was going to be more opportunities. I think, yeah, it's sort of changing more now. You feel like the smaller films that don't have the huge budget for marketing are getting
Mm.
more attention. I mean, that's that's kind of the game, I guess, in Hollywood. It's really not necessarily the best film wins or the best actor. All those competitions are weird anyway. I mean, they're just weird because how do you say best actor? There's so many good
Yeah.
actors doing amazing work, so I guess I'm still in the 60%, not so much.
See, and that's that I
I
had a
get
f
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I had a feeling, and because here's the thing, when I think about the Oscars, and I have for many, many years, I think about it very much for the celebrity, right?
Mhm.
That's what it is. It's a show of the celebrity, and you leverage that opportunity to build your celebrity so that when you do the next film as well, you've got celebrity and people wanna go see it. But then you think about, like you said, all of these great actors and actresses doing other things in these other, you could say, smaller parts or smaller movies, and what's their stage? Right? When
Mm,
do they I mean, because I've seen some great stuff, and you're like, "Well, they're not on that stage. They're not even
right.
nominated."
No.
And you're like, I don't know." Especially if you're a person who loves film, right?
Yes.
That's the thing. If you love film and if you like, for yourself, you're part of it, I'm
Mhm.
sure in your heart of hearts, you're like, "No way." Like, I saw a thing the other day that would have beaten that out, right? Or you were like, being in it, you probably saw stuff in the theater, or you saw stuff in improv where
Yes.
you were moved in a way
Yes.
that maybe these popular movies didn't move you.
Right.
So, let me reframe the question a little bit and ask, folks that are in your role, like the roles that you play in these supporting actress roles, what do they think about the Oscars?
Hmm.
Well, I think they probably feel the same way that I do. I mean, we live in our own I think, enjoy watching the Oscars to see what, people wear and, that kind of stuff, and then the acceptance speeches sometimes are very, thoughtful and, um, really so precious, the way
Mhm.
Yeah.
especially the British actors, they always say they're so completely articulate,
Not this year.
right? Not this year? Anyway,
You saw the
um,
BAFTAs.
I mean, this year, Sinners is I that movie, small not that wasn't a huge budget, was it? I mean,
N
budgets I don't understand.
it was a big budget,
It
but it
was
was a
so
movie that
but it felt like a
I feel like
small
studio
film.
didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with it,
Yeah,
Amy,
it felt like a
and
small indie film,
it
and
had a
it was
February
so
release,
yeah.
and it's like
So it never felt
yeah,
like this is a movie that the studio made. It was like, because
yeah.
those movies
It was
really are
Coogler's baby, it was like, "Hey, we owe Ryan Coogler one for Black Panther. Let's give him
yeah.
the let's give him
Well,
the
c
movie he's been trying to make
that felt
forever."
more like a Hollywood film, although it was also really groundbreaking, but Sinners was, like, layered in so many ways, and it was
Yeah,
just, so delicious, and they weren't like well, Michael B. Jordan is pretty big, but, it didn't feel like
yeah.
but it didn't feel like it was peopled with all these famous,
Right.
actor, studio wasn't trying to sell it.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I mean,
just
Nick, think about just like you talk about like Kismet. You
yeah.
put Michael B. Jordan in Fruitvale Station if you're
Oh, yeah.
Coogler, and then you bet on or you don't even bet on it, you get lucky by the fact that that actor continued to basically accelerate his career
Right.
at a rate faster than your own. So that when you
Yes.
so that when you get to this place, that guy's a mega superstar. And
Right.
like,
That's
how many independent filmmakers have we been around, Nick, where it's like you put that person in your movie and you hope that they blow up and they just don't, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah,
so it like what a combo and what a
right. I
incredible
mean, it is really
situation.
magic when it happens all together like that.
Yes.
When script is really beautiful and the acting is all beautiful and, oh,
I
just
heard I
amazing.
heard I I
And then
heard
it's
from a
shot so
producer
beautifully.
that
Anyway, so
I heard from
Sinners,
a
a movie.
producer that reading Sinners' screenplay was incredible experience. And
Oh,
so
I
we're
met
we're we're wrangling up this year's Oscar scripts are nominated
oh,
for best film,
great.
and,
Yeah.
we'll have a download available on YouTube, uh, soon, I hope, where people can just
Yeah.
download and read this year's
Yes,
nominees.
yeah. It really does begin with the script.
Yeah.
The words are, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
without it, you don't have it, and look, it's an interesting poll in its simplicity, Nick, and my thought on it is similar to your thought, Nick, and yours, Amy, except that I think those small indie films have always been nominated, but they haven't always won, and
right.
now they're winning. So you
Yeah.
had, the 2 movies from last year
Sure.
that were at the forefront of the awards were Anora, a
Mhm.
$6 million, you know, let's say just production budget film by Sean Baker, and The Brutalist, which was made for $10 million with Brady Corbett. Those were your 2 front runners. Now, the marketing dollars, the P&A is not added into that for anybody who wants to wink at that, but, they had more marketing dollars. I think Anora,
Mhm.
for example, spent 3x the production cost on marketing,
Right.
which helped them get to the finish line, I'm sure. But you go a few years before that, you have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which wasn't a small
That was
film, but it
another
wasn't a giant
nut
film.
film. That
Yeah,
was another one I was just like, "What the hell is this?" It
yeah,
was
yeah,
I was so enamored of that movie, just I let
mhm,
it wash over me. Sinners 2 was kinda like a wash over you. You
yeah,
can't be thinking too hard
yeah,
because
Yep.
there's so many layers going on.
and the
It's not
visuals.
Experiential.
Sinners was not linear. It was just like, "Wow." Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
and it's been a
Ah,
trend, Nick. It's been a trend over the last few years,
yeah.
I feel like, kinda maybe it started with Birdman, maybe with
Oh,
Michael Keaton.
Birdman's another good one. Yeah, yeah,
And
so they
all nominated, right? But I think
Well,
like
Birdman
so for
won.
me,
I'm saying
yeah,
the
yeah,
winners being
but they're indies and
Nomadland won as
yeah,
this
they're indie.
small
They have that indie
film.
feel, right? But I
right.
think that for the audience, so there another reason why I was asking the question is because I think that at least for me, it's been changing over time, and I think like you were saying, Amy, maybe it's more for me. It might be going more towards the of course again. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
shifted into the not so much for me a little while as well. And the reason I was all in before, let's say when I was younger, is and I think the reason why people watch is like you see a little bit of yourself in this as well
right,
because you really enjoyed those characters, right? You're like, yeah, I loved that. That was kind of part of your childhood, your growing
right.
up or part of your formative years. You're like, I watched that movie. It meant something to me.
Yeah.
And then we hit a different stage in our lives and in society and in technology where we're more distracted now. So we're not just focused on these movies, we have social media, right? We got
Mm.
streaming, we got stuff coming at us all the time. So are we as an audience connecting with those films the way we used to? And I feel like we're not, right? It's like even in The Brutalist came out, yeah, that might have been a phenomenal movie, but did a lot of you say young people connect to that? Was it a meaningful
I don't
part of
think
their
anybody
their
saw
Right.
it.
upbringing? That's what I'm saying. So you can't connect to those. So I think that maybe the shift will be if we get more movies that I would say the younger audience will actually say that this is part of my childhood. This is part of my upbringing. This is part of who I am. And I see that in that movie, I'll be more willing to watch the movies. I'll be more willing to rate the movies. I'll be willing to tell people about it. And I think that's what Sinners is that there's a cultural zeitgeist aspect to that film that creates a connection between it and the audience more
Right,
so than some of the other films that I think we've seen over
right,
the past couple of years.
right.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, I think that sounds right to me. I think the audience for this show, this award show, has grown older, has grown up, and it's a TV show.
Mhm.
So I think that's maybe even the bigger point, Nick. It's a TV show. So it's not, when we were kids, we didn't have access to every film, certainly not award-winning films. Our parents were taking us to cartoons, right? So this is a show for adults. This is a show for grown-ups. And grown-ups are interested in it and should be more interested in it than young people. So really it might come down to the demographic of our YouTube subscribers, right?
Yeah,
So
and maybe it was me. Maybe I was too grown because I was watching it as a kid. I remember watching
I
it
was watching, but
from,
my mom made a big deal of it. We
yeah,
bet on it.
maybe we were, yeah.
When we were young I was
I watched
younger,
it.
I watched it, and then
Yeah.
somewhere in my
The
maybe in my
celebrity.
30s, I remember we would have watch parties and make food that connected to each,
Same.
uh, nomination, best picture nomination. We'd have, like, we'd make it like an evening event, and then you do the voting, and then we'd win prizes, and it was really kind of a watch party fun thing. And then at some point, unless there was something in the no somebody in the nominations that I cared about, like a film that I like everything oh, well, that maybe
Everywhere
that
all at
movie.
Yeah,
once.
everything everywhere all at once.
Blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. That movie I wanted to watch because there were so many that movie meant so much to me, and the
Mm,
fact that it won so many awards, it really healed my soul,
Mm.
It felt
mhm.
like, "Oh, I belong. We
Right.
belong."
You're seen
It
by it winning.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're seen. And Sinners, I feel the same way about.
yeah,
Yep.
Growing up, there were no Asian American people to so for me,
yeah.
African Americans were my role models. I think for
That's
all
awesome.
communities.
Alright, shout out.
Yes.
Shout out to the
Yeah.
blacks.
Yeah. So we identified, totally with the African American communities. Plus, Asian American communities, I'm not sure historically everywhere, but the Asian American, African American communities were right next to each other usually.
Yeah, yeah.
So they always interacted and they were always like together. I never felt the difference between us and them.
That's perfect.
So
I
even
I grew up
now,
in I grew up in 2 neighborhoods that worked just like that, so I can again
yeah,
attest to that
yeah, yeah,
being
it
the
was,
case.
yeah,
That's really fascinating, and the only thing I'll mention before we finish this audience poll is
okay,
because we gotta give some love to our sponsors, Nick.
okay,
We gotta shout them out, Nick, but
Yeah,
before
me
we
we
too.
do
should do
that,
that.
I just
Somebody's
wanna mention
sponsoring
this
you, they
one
need
thing, which is that there was about what'd you say, Amy?
if they're supporting you, I'm behind it.
Love it.
Sweet.
Yeah,
You heard it here first. There was about a 15-year period where I think that actors got on stage and either got political,
Mhm.
pompous, or reckless, or all 3, and I'm thinking of specific instances, right? Like what damage was done by Will Smith slapping someone on stage, right? Where the everyday viewer's like, "I'm done with that." Like, this is foolishness, right? Or, someone, lecturing you about eating meat after they win an award like Joaquin Phoenix, who I love, but look, bro, like, you're not revolutionary because of your diet, okay? Like, that's not a thing, like and we don't need to hear it from you, like, sometimes it's the messenger. It's why
right.
it's why your mom would say to you when you were little, "Wait till your dad gets home." The messenger matters, and I think that we had the wrong messengers for a long time, and it really turns people off of the awards, so,
Mhm.
anyway, you did the thing, Nick. Thank you very much for a
Yep.
very delicious audience polls,